Welcome to this overview video of the SCPLM's AutoCAD connector for Aras Innovator. As we will see in this video, thanks to an in-depth application integration, the SCPLM's AutoCAD connector is your direct access to the Aras Innovator PLM system right from within the AutoCAD environment. With a few clicks within AutoCAD, you can easily manage your CAD documents and dependencies. The bidirectional mapping of the CAD data between AutoCAD and Aras Innovator is taken care of by the SCPLM's AutoCAD connector. This includes the forward and backward mapping of the title block properties and of the custom properties, the automatic bond generation and vaulting, and the support of external references, XREFs, and sheetset data files. Even sheetsets that come along with multi-level nested XREFs are easily handled by the connector. The part number registration is also managed by the SCPLM's AutoCAD connector for all these types of AutoCAD files and dependencies. Today's video will cover the following topics: the integration of the connector within AutoCAD. Here we will also talk about the bidirectional mapping of the title block properties, registering and storing a drawing into Aras Innovator, retrieving a drawing from the Innovator Vault, finally registering, storing and retrieving XREFs. As we will see in a few moments, thanks to the SCPLM's AutoCAD connector, all these functionalities are available right from within AutoCAD. This greatly improves the CAD designer's efficiency, and thanks to the accurate mapping between AutoCAD and Aras Innovator, removes redundant data entry and ensures that users, with appropriate permissions, will have access to the latest generation. Let's first have a look at how the connector is integrated in AutoCAD. Accessing the connector functions is as easy as opening your AutoCAD environment and using the integrated connector ribbon menu. Without leaving AutoCAD, you can register your CAD data and generate part numbers in Aras Innovator, store your drawings into Aras Innovator, retrieve your drawings from the Innovator Vault, lock and unlock in Aras Innovator the drawings currently in session, insert and replace, check on latest to check if any of the files open in session are at an on latest generation, access to your local workspace explorer, fine-tune the connector settings. In this overview video, we will cover the register, store, retrieve, workspace explorer, and setting functions. First of all, I will open the connector settings and discuss some key features of the SCPLM's connector. An important point is that all the configurations and settings that you want the connector to use are held in the Aras Innovator database. For example, here I'm logged in as the user Knight and I'm using this specific Innovator database. Opening the Resource Settings tab, I see a list of settings that define the behavior of the connector. For example, if it is creating and storing thumbnail images into Aras Innovator together with my drawings, or if it is automatically generating viewable files and in Word format. As you can see here, some settings are highlighted in blue. These are local settings. For example, if AutoCAD should automatically clean the session once I store my drawings into the Innovator Vault, or which local work folder should the connector use. While these highlighted settings can be changed on the fly directly from this connector settings menu, all the other connector settings are set up in Aras Innovator. Let's switch to Aras Innovator for a moment. You can see the connector menu in the table of contents. Opening the resource settings allows you to define the connector behavior in great details. Each of these items is a connector settings. For example, these settings tell which viewable files are automatically generated by the connector. I can also order these settings by file type. As you can see, you can specify different behaviors for each of your CAD tools. There are two kinds of settings: the resource settings and the property mappings. The property mappings specify which properties are mapped from AutoCAD to Aras Innovator and backwards, and how they are mapped. For example, this property mapping tells to fill the Aras Innovator part title and number using the title block property called drawing number. This is a forward mapping, that is, from AutoCAD to Innovator. But you can also specify how item properties can be driven down from Aras Innovator to your AutoCAD drawings when retrieving them from the Innovator Vault. This feature is called backward mapping. On top of being able to define how exactly the connector is behaving, another powerful feature of the SCPLM's AutoCAD connector is that you can set up connector projects. You may have CAD designers working in different locations or who need to work with different settings. Each connector project can have its own settings, and you can create as many connector projects as you need. This is a very useful feature, especially when it comes to the property mappings. Switching project is as easy as opening the connector settings menu in AutoCAD and selecting your project, as you see here. Once the project is selected, the property mappings tab shows you the property mappings that have been defined in Aras Innovator for this specific connector project. For example, this is the mapping of the Innovator part item number that we saw before in Innovator. It is taken from the title block attribute called drawing number. Here we also specify if the mapping is in a specific direction or bidirectional. The important key feature to remember is that each connector project can have its own property mappings and resource settings, and you may want to set up different projects in your company. To better understand how the mapping works, let's have a look at the title block of this drawing. You may want to have different attributes defined in the title block, and the important thing is that each of these attributes is recognized by the connector, which maps them to Aras Innovator item properties. For example, here's the drawing number that, according to the connector settings of the present project, is going to be mapped to the Innovator part item number. We will see this feature in action in a few moments. I will go ahead and register this drawing into Aras Innovator. This operation allows me to create right in Aras Innovator a part item, an empty CAD document, and the relationship between the two. I'm not actually vaulting my files yet. I can continue working on my drawing if I want and store the files into the Innovator vault when I'm ready, knowing that the part items, CAD documents, and relationships have already been created and held in Aras Innovator for my drawing. When clicking on the Register button in the Connector ribbon menu, a message pops up to remind me that the connector is set to rename the drawing file to match the corresponding part number assigned. Again, this is an optional setting and it is completely configurable. I click OK and this brings me to the Register Hierarchy window. The main window, known as the Hierarchy window, displays the selected items hierarchy. The window on the right, also known as the Item Information window, displays more detailed information about the item currently selected in the hierarchy. All the items in the Hierarchy window that are highlighted in green don't have a part number associated to them in Aras Innovator yet. To create a part number, I have different options. I can enter a part number manually, as you see here, or I can choose to automatically generate a part number. In this case, as the property mappings are set to define the part number as the drawing number attribute from the title block, the connector uses that information here. Alternatively, you can choose to generate the next sequential part number in Aras Innovator. Another useful option that is supported by the connector for the part number generation is the possibility of searching for an existing part number in Aras Innovator and assign it to your drawing. This option can be used, for example, if you have a pre-existing numbering scheme inherited, for example, from your ERP system. Registering the drawing and returning to AutoCAD, you can see that the file has been renamed to match the assigned part number. The connector asks me if I want to go ahead and store my drawing into the Innovator Vault. I may choose to say no and continue working on the drawing and store it later. For the purposes of this overview video, I will click yes, and this opens the Store Hierarchy interface, which allows me to review all the information about the drawing before committing it to the Innovator Vault. As before, there is a hierarchy window where useful information about the drawing is displayed. This includes information about the current status of the drawing in Aras Innovator. In this case, it has been registered but not yet stored, and it is locked by me. Having this information displayed in the form of icons is very useful when dealing with multiple drawings at the same time. The drawing is going to be checked in by the connector at Revision A and Preliminary Status as a mechanical drawing AutoCAD file type. I can choose to change the action that will be performed by the connector using this context menu. In this case, I will leave it set to check in. The Item Information window on the right displays more detailed information about the properties that are automatically mapped to Aras Innovator by the connector. Notice that the connector already generated a thumbnail image and a viewable file already available here as a link. The Where Used tab shows all the Innovator items that use the drawing that I am about to vault, while the Generations tab displays the history of the drawing. Finally, the bottom window shows the Innovator part items that are associated to the drawing. Completing the operation returns me to AutoCAD, and since I had the Auto Erase option turned on, the drawing is removed from my current AutoCAD session and my local work folder. To retrieve a drawing from the vault, I click on the Retrieve button in the Connector ribbon menu. This brings up the search screen, which is optimized for searching on CAD-related documents. The SCP Elements connector also includes powerful baseline management capabilities allowing me to filter my search results based on the most current version of the documents, the latest released version, or based on a specific effectivity date. These advanced search and filter options can handle all the possible versions of the parts and the CAD documents in Aras Innovator, and they allow you to pin down the exact drawing version that you are looking for. Today, I'll leave it set to the most current version and search for all AutoCAD type documents whose part number begins with 800. The connector automatically retrieves the thumbnail images of all the items corresponding to the search to quickly locate the ones I'm interested in, and it displays the associated information in the main window and in the item information window on the right. Clicking on Retrieve Hierarchy brings me to the connector's hierarchy viewer, similar to the one that we use when storing the drawing. This view allows me to see in detail the selected item and all of its related documents and information before committing to delivering the files from the Aras Innovator Vault. Notice that the default operation is to deliver a read-only copy to my local work folder. I can change that if I need and tell the connector to check out the files from the vault. Clicking on Retrieve completes the operation and delivers the drawing to my local work folder, opening it in my AutoCAD session. As we previously noted, the SCP-LM's AutoCAD connector makes Aras Innovator functionalities available right from within the AutoCAD UI. So, for example, I can lock or unlock files within Aras Innovator at any time as needed. I can also use the Workspace Explorer command to view detailed information about specific files in my local work folder. This is a very easy and convenient way to keep track of which files are currently released, or locked by me or some other user, or to identify which files have not yet been stored in the Innovator Vault. The Workspace Explorer also shows very useful information about each item, from read and write access permissions, to thumbnails for easy recognition, to revision numbers, generations, and lifecycle states. I will now make some quick changes to the drawing by adding a few dimensions. I will then store the drawing back into Aras Innovator, and we will then switch to Innovator to check the CAD documents, part items, and relationships that the connector automatically created for us. I'm finished with my changes and I click on the Store button in the connector ribbon menu. This brings up the connector store hierarchy viewer. As you can see here, the connector is ready to check in my drawing. As before, I could change this action if I needed to. Today I will leave it set to check in and click on Store. I will now switch to Aras Innovator and search for a CAD document with SAW in the name. The connector made the drawing immediately available within the Innovator system. I opened the CAD document and as you can see here, the item properties have been populated with the information from the drawing title block. It has been updated to its latest generation, Generation 2, and the thumbnail image has been created by the connector together with a preview image. Clicking on this link opens the PDF viewable file and verifies that this is the second version of the drawing with the additional new dimensions. When using the connector to store the drawings into Aras Innovator, the connector takes care of creating all the necessary relationships between the items. This includes creating a history of all the generations of your drawings. That is why I still have access to the previous generations of this document. Selecting the first generation and opening the PDF viewable file displays the previous version without the additional dimensions. The connector also automatically created a part item associated to this CAD document. Clicking on this link opens up the part item which, as you can see here, is related to the correct CAD document. Back to the CAD document, if I have the appropriate permissions, I can manually release this document. We will then retrieve this released drawing from AutoCAD, as this operation will allow us to check how the SCP-LM's connector deals with the Aras Innovator generations and with the Innovator permission models. As we said, back to AutoCAD, I will retrieve the drawing from the vault one more time. The connector returns me the drawing at its latest generation and alerts me that this is a released document thanks to this icon. As the connector fully supports Aras Innovator generations, I could search for the other generations in the search options. As you can see here, the connector returns me the first generation. Notice that now the icon alerts me that this is no longer the latest generation. I will select the latest generation again and view it in the Hierarchy Explorer. The Generations tab displays now both the current and the previous version of the drawing. As the drawing is now in the release status in Aras Innovator, if I mark the drawing for checkout, this time the connector shows this message saying that I don't have the right permissions to check out a released drawing. This behavior is optional and you can configure it based on how you wish to enforce Innovator security and permission models. Along with simple AutoCAD drawings, the connector can also manage more complex ones. such as those utilizing external references, or XREFs. I have opened this gear pump subassembly, and opening the external reference palette, we notice that there are 5 additional drawings externally referenced and loaded into session. Selecting the register function from the connector ribbon menu, this time the connector displays both the top-level drawing and all of the XREFs contained in it. I will select them all and generate unique part numbers for them. In this case, as the title block did not specify a part number, the connector will use the Innovator sequence generator to assign the next available part numbers. Again, all these behaviors are completely configurable and can adapt very easily to your company's needs. I will now store the top-level drawing, and again the Store Hierarchy Explorer displays the information about the top-level drawing together with all the associated XREFs. By default, the connector will store all of them at the same time, but I always have the option to choose what operations the connector will perform on each of these documents. This time I will leave it set to check-in and complete the store operation. If I now choose to retrieve the top-level drawing from the vault, the connector displays also all its XREFs and gives me the opportunity to have them all delivered from the vault together. On the other hand, if I retrieve one of the XREFs drawings, when I select it and display the Retrieve Hierarchy Explorer, the connector shows me all the parent drawings in Aras Innovator in which it is contained as an external reference. In summary, the SCP-LM's AutoCAD connector fully supports drawings with external references and takes care of all their dependencies automatically. We hope this brief introductory video helps you understand how SCP-LM's AutoCAD connector seamlessly integrates your organization's AutoCAD design data with the Aras Innovator PLM system. We have seen how deeply the connector is integrated within the AutoCAD UI, allowing you to manage your AutoCAD documents and parts in Aras Innovator without leaving the AutoCAD environment. Besides managing and supporting drawings and XREFs, the SCP-LM's AutoCAD connector also supports sheet set data files, even those with multi-level nested XREFs. For any information, including scheduling a one-on-one demonstration of the SCP-LM's connectors, please call us or get in contact with us at info@scplm.com. Thanks for watching.